Yo, so I just finished watching the Amazon Prime series Them. It was I've been bored, so I mean I guess it was pretty decent. However, the plot lines, like the storylines, they're kind of all over the place. It starts off from a moment in the past and doesn't elaborate on that moment except for maybe one episode or around the time that stuff really starts hitting the fan. So you're left kind of feeling uneasy about what's going on, and they focus more so on the day-to-day struggles building up to this climax, and then they go completely right, thinking like, yeah, it's really because of this reason. And the writing, I understood it. I understood, the time and the time period, the conflict, the struggle, uh, the difficulties that this family faced. Like, I understood all that. I felt all that. What you call it, like it hit me personally. So I had I was emotionally triggered by some of the scenes, some of what was said, some of what has happened. However, just watching the story, watching the movie, the series, the show, it's like it could have been done better. And some people are gonna be like emotionally drained, fatigued with the issues that the show presents because of the current events that's been transpiring. But as far as just me, watching and enjoying the show, I wouldn't say it's so much as that I enjoyed it, but I was just, I just wanted to know what was going to happen next. I wanted to see the conclusion more than anything else. Like, how was this family going to survive this horrific, chain of events that led to, what leads to by the end of the show, which is unclear because the way it ended, it kind of made it feel like they wanted to leave it open for a season two, but at the same time, it could have just been one of those artsy deals to where we want the audience to make up their own conclusion. And I get that, and for that, I mean, it works. But it's like, I don't know. It really depends on you. Like, if you're a type of person that you want to write your own story, you don't want to be force fed information, and you want to connect your own dots. You want to build and fill in the blanks. The show will be good. But if you're one of those people that want a clean cut, this is the beginning, this is the end, you're gonna have problems because thinking about how other reviewers would see it, would rate it, it'd probably be all this technical filming and directors and actor history, and I was like, no, I watched it because I was bored, and it wasn't one of those shows that I just had to turn off. Like, it's been a couple of shows that even though I was bored, I just turned them off because it was pointless. This one, you watch it, you feel it. There's a mental health issue that is touched. They touch on a lot of issues. Mental health. Dude was exposed to some stuff during his military service. Being a veteran myself, I can relate to that. Not necessarily that it happened to me, but just, stuff happens in the military and it affects you, and you don't even realize it affects you until it affects you. And then once it's affecting you and you're aware of it, it makes you feel cautious. It makes you feel apprehensive, especially around family and friends, people you care about, because you don't want to hurt them or come off crazy or be misunderstood. They touch on the racism. They touch on domestic, somewhat to a degree of domestic issues like violence, strife, stuff like that. Touches on I said race already, but they touch on just the nosiness of society, and being that the time period that it takes place in, it's, for me, it was interesting to see that while this nosiness that we as a society have today, it's been slowly building, since the 50s, because propaganda against minorities, then you have your non-minorities, like keeping eyes on the minorities because the minority was the enemy. Even though we fought in all the same wars, we started integrating into the same neighborhoods, and it's just because you're an other, you look different, that you're a problem. And to this day, we still have that same issue, and people get upset, people get angry, people will be called social justice warriors, and making all this stuff, all this strife, all this conflict, right? When the simplest solution to all of this is just for us all to get along and mind our own business, unless it affects you. Like if your neighbor is something else, whatever rainbow it is, unless it's like affecting you personally, it shouldn't be an issue. Unless their trash is in your yard, it shouldn't be an issue. But for whatever reason, today's society, everybody's in everybody else's business. And if the purpose of this show was to get people to think and to start a conversation, maybe it succeeds. Maybe. I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm just speaking from my own personal experiences. Maybe the show, you go out to dinner, you watch the show, you have a Netflix and chill night, you watch the show or whatever, and you have a conversation after you finish watching the show about the topics and everything that's going on in the show. And that would, the show would be successful if that were the case. Just watching it from episode 1 to episode 10, taking in all the information that happened, taking in, all the plot points and story beats and character development. And some of the character development don't make no sense. They jump forward, they jump back. It's a game of chess as far as the plot goes, and it's like, well, really? Like, you're gonna be catching yourself saying, like, well, really, a lot? Even though the topics are sensitive topics, they're triggering topics. You got sexual assault, you got all kinds of stuff that's going on in the show. The show is just so heavy with everything that it was trying to touch on. It's like almost like the writer, director, the executive producers, all these people are like that. This is a good story. This is good material. If it'd been organized just a little bit better, it would be an amazing show. But because it kind of comes off as all over the place, and you have the main male protagonist, and he's trying to hold his family together. You get that. You feel that. You sympathize for that. And then he goes and does X, Y, and Z, and he has these issues, and it's like they don't spend enough time building on these issues and really laying out these issues. Maybe if the series were broken up, series like the first season was focused on one part of the family, season 2 focused on another part of the family, season 3 be focused on another part of the family, until all the members of the family have been touched on, and then they can go into like the past and stuff like that, or and further expand upon all the events that transpired. And then the events themselves, like, they're just so large. Like, this one small little thing created a domino effect of all these other things, and then you have to question, like, is this real? Is this a reality? Like, the show itself, you're watching the show, it's not based in reality. There's no historical, there's historical precedents, but as far as it being historically like it was a true story, it's not. Or at least it wasn't, presented as such. And there's real world stuff that happened in it. And some of the stuff that happens in the show, I don't see happening. Like, I can see him, you getting this job that's like a dream job. It doesn't even explain how he goes from what he was doing or what it seems like he was doing to, the dream job that landed in his lap for whatever reason. I thought that the dream job itself was a trap, but I'm not, trying to give away spoilers or anything. But just watching it was almost like, hey, if you were like a farmer or someone that was getting by, working with your hands, whatever, you're struggling day to day, and then all of a sudden you get a random phone call that says you got the job. They don't touch on how he got the job, like what was the process of that, whether it was something programmed through the military, a veteran program, somebody he met, someone he talked to, life saved, or any of that. They don't touch on none of that. It's like this horrific thing happened in the beginning of the show, and then the next scene, they're the Jeffersons, they're moving on up, and the show itself is kind of convoluted. Like, it's just, you go to shock value to, okay, you're building up the story, you go into another part of the story, it seems to focus on the man, then it focuses on a woman, then it focuses on a man, then it focuses on the children, then it focuses on the neighbors, but there's no solid theme. No, as they tell you when you're in school, when you're writing a paper, there's no subject. There's no subject that takes you all the way through the material that you're consuming. And it's just all these, again, it's like they were trying to write this kick-ass, historically accurate period piece, an essay of the experiences of minorities during that time period, but then they started adding all this other stuff to make it digestible and interesting, like putting a whole bunch of sugar on something that's like not really edible. Not saying that it doesn't taste good, but depending on your palate, it may or may not digest well, just like him eating that pie, or whatever episode that was. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to, I'm not big time, so I can't give you a ratings. If you ain't got nothing else better to do, it's worth the watch. You got time to waste, go ahead and watch it, but don't have your hopes up. But on the other hand, if you just in your feelings about everything that's going on right now and you want a little more fuel for the fire, you'll probably enjoy it. That's my take.